in your church. These things you can take at church. Okay, let's talk about relational wisdom, this concept of relational wisdom. Let me tell you a story. When I graduated from law school, I was clerking for a federal judge in Billings, Montana. It was senior status, 85 years old, sharp as a tack, and he was invited to fly around the country and sit on federal courts of appeal. And one day we were invited to come to DC for the Federal Court of Appeal there. The weekend before, there was a Christian Legal Society conference here at Wheaton, in Wheaton, up at the Billy Graham Center. And so I asked the judge if I could fly out to Chicago a couple days early, attend the conference, hop on a plane Sunday afternoon, and fly out to DC and be in court on Monday morning. He said, fine. So I came out here, went through the conference, great conference, was almost over, one more keynote on Sunday afternoon before we all left. They sent us up to our room to get our suitcases, bring them down so we get in the bus, go to the airport. And I was packing my suitcase, and I realized to my absolute horror, I had not put in a white dress shirt. I had some short-sleeve, brightly colored polos, which does not look good under a three-piece suit in a federal court. I would have looked like an absolute idiot. And I went through my suitcase like 2 or 3 times. I mean, I totally panicked. I just was freaking out, put my suitcase together, went down to the lobby outside the Billy Graham Center. I was just racking my brain, what I'm gonna do? I'll embarrass my judge tomorrow. They'll think I'm an idiot from Montana. I mean, I was just standing there so distressed. This isn't me, but this is about how I look, standing in the lobby with 200 other people milling around, getting ready to go into the auditorium. The last keynote speaker, a litigator from Los Angeles, Fred Cassidy, walked through that crowd of people. He passed about 4 feet away from me with some people in between us. I'd never met this man. He walks down through this crowd, gets about 2 paces beyond, stops, pivots, walks back to me through the crowd and says, "Are you okay?" Folks, every one of us has a God-given ability to read facial expressions. We have a God-given ability to pick up on nuances in tone of voice. But it's like the piano. We all have the ability to go like this. But if you want to make beautiful music, you practice and you practice and you practice. If you want to get good at reading facial expressions, you practice. If you want to get good at reading voice inflections, you practice. Fred Cassidy apparently had practiced. Now, I happen to believe maybe the Holy Spirit sort of supercharged that ability that day because it was so exceptional. From 4 feet away out of the side view radar, he picked up on this distressed face in the crowd. He walked up to me and said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No!" And I blurted out my dilemma, and without hesitation, Fred reached in his pocket, pulled out a set of car keys. He didn't even know my name. He said, "I got a car in the parking lot. There's a mall down the road about a mile. Do you need some money?" That was 43 years ago. It's like yesterday. I love what Maya Angelou says. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. They will never forget how you made them feel. I joined the Christian Legal Society after that conference because this one person loved me in an exceptional way, served me in an exceptional way, read a distressing situation in my life in an exceptional way, and I just assumed the Christian Legal Society, these thousands, they must all be like him. And I joined them 43 years ago, and I'm still a member today. And folks, people have the same experience with your company. If they run into one employee, a salesperson, someone in the front desk, in the reception area, anybody there, and they have a remarkably positive experience with that person, empathy, compassion, reading them, serving them well, they're going to say, wow, what a great company. But it works in reverse, too. If they have one negative experience with someone, one of your service reps goes out, is a little bit grumpy that day, or just irritable, whoa, I'm not working with this company again. One person with these skills. And there will be people who will, you could have your receptionist sitting at the front desk, and 20 people walk through the front door and say, "Hi, how you doing?" And she says, she answers them again and again and again, but one person picks up on something in her voice. You could ask someone someday, "Hey, how you doing today?" And one day they might say, "Oh, I'm okay." Another day they might say, "Oh, I'm okay." Do you realize those are 2 completely different answers? That little tiny pause basically says, "I'm not okay. But I don't know if you care enough about me that I'm going to risk asking for help So I'm going to give you a hint and see if you pick up on it. And men do this a lot. In my experience, women are much more comfortable sharing, hey, I've got a problem, can I talk with you about it? Men have a much harder time saying, I've got a problem I can't solve myself, I need help. But they will give hints. They'll give a little teeny hint. And you can have people on your workforce who are going through a real hard time, their marriage is in trouble, their teenagers are freaking out, they've got some health issues, and they have a hard time actually sharing that. But if someone like you or someone else picks up on that nuance and says, what's going on? Oh, no big deal, just something with the family. What's going on with your family? Oh, you know, teenagers, that's how they are. Whoa, teenagers. That could be really serious. That's like someone laid down 3 cards, sort of giving you hints about something. They just want to see what you do as they lay those cards down. You pick up on it, you could change the course of someone's life. In some cases, and I'm not exaggerating this because I've seen the stories, you could actually intercept somebody who's actually contemplating suicide. They're discouraged, they're depressed, they're hopeless, they're dropping hints right and left, nobody's picking up on it, and the next day you get some really tragic news. Life is all about relationship. Everything we do that has anything of significance is about relationship. And relationships are fueled by emotions. The word emotion means literally to move. Emotions move us. It comes from a Latin word which means to move. But emotions also overthrow us. Anger, bitterness, jealousy, unforgiveness. All these things can create problems. So here's a paradigm. Here are some skills that you can learn and teach to others to improve our ability to handle emotions. And there's three or just a few dynamics. It's a very simple concept. God designed us to be 3-dimensional. We're in relationship to our Creator. We're in relationship to ourselves. There's things going on inside of us that we act on. And we're in relationship to the people around us. 3-dimensional. In the mediations that I get involved in, and most of them involve professing Christians, so you'd think we're just doing great at these things, but most of the mediations I do come about, they need help because they're ignoring the top part of this diagram. We get stuck at the 2 dimensions. I'm right, you're wrong, I'm right, you're wrong. We just go back and forth focused on the human dimension. It's when we bring God into the equation that things really begin to change dramatically. So we're designed to be 3-dimensional. It's a huge change in perspective on life. And then in each of these dimensions, there's 2 dynamics going on. One is an awareness. What do I know about God? Who He is, what He's like, what His purposes are? What do I know about myself, my strengths, my weaknesses, my dreams, my joys, my fears? How well do I really read myself? Especially in the moment when right now my emotions might be really rising up. And how well do I read this other person? What's going on in her? What's she thinking? How am I affecting her? How can I serve her? Those are 3 key things: God awareness, self-awareness, other awareness. But awareness alone won't do much. We have to do something with that information. And so that's where we engage, we act, we speak, we do things. How do I respond to God? Faith, trust, obedience, worship. How do I manage myself? I put off my old ways. I put off my temper and my lust and my materialism, and I put on something much superior: love, kindness, self-control. I learn to become a self-disciplined person, much happier with my life. And how do I engage the other person? How do I serve the other person? Forgiveness, loving correction, support, kindness. So those are the 6 basic skills of relational wisdom. If you're familiar with traditional secular emotional intelligence, it's basically the bottom 2/3 of that diagram. How do I read and manage my own emotions? How do I read and manage the emotions of someone else? This paradigm is much more robust because we're bringing God into the equation, and that makes all the difference in the world, a biblical worldview. We also have a secular version of this. I'll show you in a minute. But really, when you think about it, relational wisdom, this 3-dimensional paradigm for relationships, is basically a reflection of the Great Commandment. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, strength, and soul, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. How do I treat myself? I make excuses for myself. I cover for myself. I cut myself slack. Well, I should do it for my neighbor. Same thing. A technical definition, well, no, go back to that. The reason we call it Relational Wisdom 360 is because you find these 360s all over the Bible. They start with a focus on God. They then talk about how we manage ourselves. They then talk about how we engage our neighbor. And then they come all the way back up into 360, back with God. Now, theologians call those red passages, the bookends here, indicative passages. They indicate who God is and what he's like. They're the motivational. When you get those, then you obey the imperatives, those commandments in between. When you get that God has sealed us for the day of redemption through the sacrifice and resurrection, the shed blood of his Son, when that is a premier perspective of your life, God has forgiven me while I was yet a sinner. He sent his Son to die for me, and he calls me to love others the same way he's loved me. Makes all the difference in the world. And another passage says, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you. Suddenly it becomes realistic. You can't do that in your own strength. But when you're motivated by how God loved you, it does give you the ability. Another famous 360 passage is the Decalogue in Exodus, the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments doesn't just start, you shall have no other gods before me. There's a prologue. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. And then there's 10 implied therefores. Therefore, if you get what I've done for you, you'll have no other gods before me. If you remember what I've done in delivering you from bondage and sin, you won't commit adultery. It's when we keep our focus on God and appreciate and are thankful for what he's done, we are motivated to do some of these seemingly impossible things with people who are really difficult to get along with. We love our enemies. We do good to those who hate us. We pour burning coals on their head by love and kindness and feeding them. You know, an enemy is hungry, we feed him. We don't berate him. And in the process, we show a power in ourselves that is overwhelming to people. It's the most powerful part of our testimony, is acting in ways that really are beyond human capacity. You see, RW, Relational Wisdom, is simply an outpouring of the gospel. It's really all 6 of those skills we try tied directly to aspects of soteriology, our salvation in Christ, all the way from God awareness, all the way through. Relational Wisdom training provides multiple employees to expose your employees to the gospel. And I'll be honest with you, as much as I like to see the professional development, conflict resolution, profitability benefits of this, it all pales in comparison to one employee who meets Jesus, because that is an eternal benefit. Your bank account will vaporize someday. Your building will just disappear. But if there's one soul who goes with you into eternity, that's an eternal dividend. In the material, there's just multiple opportunities. There's 5 explicit gospel presentations built in even to our secular training. In our secular training, which is what we typically use in the workplace, we replace those God-aware, God-engaging things at the top with values-aware, values-engaging. We talk to people about the concept of worldview, how it gives rise to belief systems, how it gives rise to value system. And there, you can't really make out on this chart, but we actually compare all the major worldviews, theism, which is Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, polytheism, pantheism, humanism, etc. We talk about what is their view of reality, what's their view of humankind, what's their view of truth, and what kind of a value system. What we're trying to do here is to get people to realize my life is being guided by a compass. And that compass is my worldview. And most people don't think of that in a very deliberate way. Many Christians don't really think about it in a deliberate way. But through the program, through the course, we want people to think about these things. They can actually read about each of those worldviews, and along the way, they can get exposure to a 14-page beautiful description of a Christian worldview in the gospel of Christ. So I pray every day that someone who's going through the course and reading about these various worldviews and value systems will read the one about a Christian worldview and go, whoa, I never knew this was what Christianity was. Many people have never heard a compelling, clear description of a Christian worldview in the gospel of Christ. So that's what this gives them the time to do. Now, one of the other things that we do in the training, we want to take good neurology, how the brain works. God made the brain. He's the designer. We should be avid students of it. And how do we understand that neurology married up with good theology, biblical worldview on how the world really works, what's wrong with the world, how do we make the world better. So we want to deal with those complexities, but then we also want to reduce these things down to some very simple acrostics you can memorize and practice very easily. It's like starting to play the piano. You've got a very simple scale you're playing at first until you just get that muscle memory, and then pretty soon you've got 2 hands playing, and then pretty soon you're starting to play some beautiful music. So it starts simple. and gets more effective. So there's 4 acrostics. Each of these is an hour-long lesson. I'm going to talk about them in like 3 minutes. But SOG, S-O-G, applies the entire paradigm. GPS is how do you become more God-aware, God-engaging, or values-aware, values-engaging. Read is how do I manage myself, read and manage myself better. And then serve is the acrostic, some basic skills. How do I get better at reading other people and engaging them in a constructive way? Very simple concepts. Let me just quickly introduce you to them. The SOG plan, S-O-G. In every situation in life, seek to be self-aware, other-aware, God-aware. What's going inside of me? What am I feeling, thinking, trying to accomplish? What's going on in this other person right now? And then also, where is God in this? What's going on here with God? The story that I use to illustrate this is a story about my wife and myself. 28 years of marriage. I was an idiot. My wife would say I still have some symptoms today, but for 28 years, I was incredibly stupid in regard to how my driving was affecting my wife. We'd be going down the street, I'm driving, getting ready to make a left-hand turn. I see a car coming at me in the left-hand in the lane coming this way, and my brain, radar goes out there, I see the car 200 feet away, traveling the speed limit, plenty of time to make a left-hand turn. My wife, who's sitting right beside me, she sees that car. Her brain says, 100 feet away, over the speed limit, we're all going to die. And she grabs the door handle, starts pumping the invisible brake on her side of the car, and she gasps. And it really, really bugged me. And I usually didn't say anything, but sometimes I'd say, honey, I would die for you. Can't you just trust me? I'm not going to put you in a dangerous situation. And it just exasperated me that she wouldn't trust me, and again and again and again. But as I began studying the brain, one of the things I learned was that our brains are wired differently. There's different sensitivity levels, 2 little nodes up here that sort of get data and process data. Her brain was seeing that car and telling her she was actually at risk. She wasn't deciding to react like that. That was part of her fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, an integral part of the limbic system process. She really saw danger and thought it was there. I also learned that every time I did that, and stress my wife like that, huge big burst of cortisol in her body. Now that's a good hormone in the right amount, but when you get excessive amounts, you're talking about cardiovascular inflammation, weight gain, stress, all sorts of things that actually harms you. And one day it just, boom. Every time I scared my wife with my driving, I was physically harming her. That was a big revelation. I would never strike my wife. And yet in my arrogance and selfishness. And so in Billings, Montana, 28 years of marriage, several years ago, getting ready to make a left-hand turn, and all this stuff sort of came together at the same time. What I've been starting to realize more and more how it's affecting her. Car's coming up, put on the turn signal, Corlette does her little dance, and I just realized, okay, self-aware, what's going on in me? This is pride, arrogance, my way or the highway, get over it. Other awareness, I was really stressing her and hurting her. But the real kicker to me was God awareness. The Bible says I'm to love my wife like Christ loves the church. I don't see anything in the Bible where Jesus says, get over it. What I see is he put his arms out on a cross and died for me. Could I not wait 6 seconds to make a turn? And so instead of turning, I just waited. And I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and by the time the car came by, it was obvious to Corlette that actually there had been plenty of time. But I didn't say see, I didn't say anything. I just made the turn. She reached over and touched me and said, thank you so much. Every time I wait to make a close left-hand turn or put a little bit of space between me and the car in front of me, my wife knows what I'm really saying is I love you. I care about you. I'm aware of you. Our marriage has gotten so much better in the last 12 years. I had 30 years of peacemaking. I could resolve conflict pretty good. Over the last 12 years, because of these concepts, I'm learning how to prevent conflict. And that's so much better. It's so much better. So it's a simple concept. Here's my question for you. What's your left-hand turn? If you really thought about it for just a moment, what are some little things that you may be doing or not doing in your life that are impacting your spouse, your coworkers, other people you're with? If you just really stood back and just were self-aware, other-aware, God-aware. It can change your relationships. Applying this with my staff has changed. One of my areas there is I sometimes got so many projects going on, I don't get things out to my staff in time for them to work on something before a meeting, so they're up against a wall on it. I just begin to realize I can serve them better by being aware of how I'm impacting them. We don't have time for this video, but there's a great video here. This guy in 3 minutes, Trace Adkins, I'd kill for his voice, does an incredible ministry to a young woman. Mom's Night Out, another great movie I commend to you. Okay, read acrostic is the one where you get better at reading your own emotions and reading what's going on inside of me. You evaluate where those emotions are coming from. You anticipate the consequences of giving into them, and then you direct and channel that emotion. I get more feedback on this acrostic than any of them. I have so many people tell me how much this has helped them to begin managing their emotions more constructively. The serve acrostic is how do you get better at engaging other people, reading them, engaging them. The metaphor we use here is an eagle. This is an hour-long lesson in the course because we have all sorts of nuances we build into it. But the metaphor here is that eagles are seen flying up at 10, 15,000 feet. They don't have the energy to flap to that elevation. They fly around until they find a thermal, an updraft of warm air. They put out the pinion feathers and up they go. And what we want to do in our course is encourage people that from this day forward, make it your goal to put wind under the wings of every person you meet. Put wind under the wings of every person you meet. That as they see you walking down the hallway or they see your name on their phone when you call, they would immediately go, whoo, John's calling. Every time I talk to John, I'm encouraged when I talk to him. And again, this would be going back if all the employees in your business were looking for ways to serve one another, to put wind under the wings, to encourage one another, to help each other succeed, to read when a coworker is in distress and struggling with something and under some pressure, say, what's going on? How can I help you? Hey, I can take this off your shoulders today. You need to be home with your spouse. You need to be home with that child. You know, when you have that kind of dynamic in your workplace, it's a huge impact on your employees. Let me show you a video that illustrates these concepts beautifully, both the read acrostic, the serve acrostic. Another true story, James Braddock, played by Russell Crowe in the movie, was a boxer in the early 1900s, just before the Depression, very successful, very wealthy. Depression comes along, wipes out all of his investments, he injures his hand, he can't be boxed anymore, he's living in absolute poverty in a basement, horrible tenement in New York City, going out every day, trying to find work, loading stuff on the docks. I mean, this guy is just as low as you can get. And the scene you're about to see, he goes out there, he couldn't find any work that day, came back. Imagine the stress you would feel you're not providing for your family. Your kids are going to bed hungry. That kills you, just rips you apart. And he comes home from that, and normally you'd be like a tight rubber band, wound up, angry, frustrated, and he finds out his son has been stealing food. Now, a lot of men in that situation, they would take that anger and frustration out of the kid. How can you do this to us? Wham! It'll be a very common reaction. We've stressed in one area, we take it out on someone else. But as you watch this clip, you'll see he does something remarkably different. He reads his emotions. He understands he could easily react in an angry way. He anticipates what that would be. He would regret it if he just unloaded on his kid. So he directs those emotions in a constructive direction. You'll see him do that. He also walks through most of the concepts in the serve acrostic as well. His countenance, his empathy, his engagement, his valuing his son. He lives all these principles out. It's a pretty remarkable 3-minute demonstration of both those acrostics. See if you can pick up on one thing, a very interesting nuance. When he changes from second person singular pronoun to first person plural pronoun. Our pronouns send a message. See if you can pick it up. Now, here's a situation where it would have been easy to jump to a conclusion, bring discipline down on the head of this kid. How could you disgrace our family and do this? And only later on find out what's really going on. And what happened there could also happen with an employee. Something might happen with an employee, you could jump to a conclusion, and you could be 100 miles off on what's really going on. So I want you at your table for a few minutes to talk about anything on that chart up there that you saw in the video. Was there a way that someone recognized an emotion? Someone evaluated and why am I feeling this way? Anticipated what happens if I give in to the emotion? And how can I direct the power of that emotion in a more constructive direction? Or even smile, countenance, facial expression, all the ways we communicate, exploring, trying to understand, showing empathy, reconciling, be at peace, valuing and encouraging. See if you can talk about at your table specific things in that video that actually illustrated those concepts. Talk about it for a few minutes. Good. If I could bring you back together. Okay. Jeff is going to come out here with the mic in a moment. Just any comments at all? Any comments at all about where you see any of these relational skills being lived out in that 3.5-minute clip?
Yeah, I think the thing that stood out is he was able to, you could see there was a lot being processed without him saying things, but he seemed to have been able to get a hold of either process his own emotions well enough to not react in that situation. That can be the hard part, I think, for us is to get to the first part so you can have a chance at getting the second part right.
What emotions do you think he was feeling?
Probably ashamed, that his son would steal from someone else. Probably angry.
Yep. And those are powerful emotions. Shame and anger are very powerful emotions about those things. And it could be anger at the son, but also when he realizes why the son stole, because he's afraid to be sending away,
right.
he sits there and he tenses up. I'm thinking you could be angry at the politicians and the business people that got us into the Depression. My family's in a mess, and all that anger, and all too often it comes out in someone who doesn't deserve it. So you're right. He's processing. He's channeling. Good. Very good. What else? Some other comments? Yes, up here.
I think most parents are reactive because of embarrassment, because they're embarrassed of how their kids have reacted or responded. And I think he was more aware of his kids' needs and what he was responding to than his own need for, I'm embarrassed now with the butcher or the deli owner. And he was able to kind of recognize that and manage that.
Excellent. Yeah, embarrassment is a big family thing. When your kids do something, it's often more about me than it is about them. Very good point. Very good point. What else?
Going with the serving thing, there's something in us that wants our kids to succeed, and we care more about what happens to them than what happens to us. Mm-hmm. And if we carry that over into the workplace, I think it becomes less about, is this employee performing for me? Are they getting done what I need to get done? And it becomes about developing them as a person. It's not directly for me to get benefit, but it's really building them up. And of course, that can benefit us over time, but I think in order to really do really serving them, it has to really be about them in that way that we really do serve our kids out of a sense of their importance being higher than our own.
Very good, very good. Yeah, and to serve your employees, to be compassionate, empathetic, to actually be charitable at times, to treat them better than they may deserve at the moment. Some people will take advantage of that. And if you see that pattern over time, you'll have to change your approach to them. But there's a lot of employees, if you treat them better than they know they deserve, that's how you build a bond. That's how you build passport. That's how you build loyalty. They say, no, she could have fired me for that. Years ago, Rockefeller had an executive who really blew it big time on something, cost the company $700,000, which was a lot of money in those days, and expected to be fired. And Rockefeller's response was, why would I fire you when I just spent $700,000 teaching you a very important lesson? That employee went on to be an incredibly loyal employee to Rockefeller. Okay, other comments, other things you see here. Did anyone pick up on the pronoun change from second person singular you to first person plural we? Anyone get that? Yes. Yeah, here's the mic.
Yeah, you could pick up the we at the end, but I actually wanted to point out too, I felt it was a tremendous scene watching him, stand. He's got the sun beneath him as he evaluates and explores. He gets down at his level.
Yeah.
at the very end, before encouraging him, he gets beneath him. Now the little boy's looking down at dad before he just embraces him, picks him up, and just thinking how powerful just the levels you are in interacting with.
Absolutely. And that really ties in sort of the smile thing. Our body language communicates. I remember a time when my son was little and he did something that we just moved to a new house. It had rained, the muddy backyard. He was running across the backyard in my cowboy boots, and he ran out of my boots several paces in the mud. He came back and stuck his feet back in my cowboy boots. And when he came in, I was towering over him, and I was pretty unhappy, and I was speaking pretty intense, and I saw this little face looking up, and I realized, man, this is like a giant standing over you. And you're exactly right. Russell Crowe initially is up talking down, then he kneels down, he's really almost at eye level. At the end, he's beneath his son. He's given up the power of position. That sends a message. Your body language sends a message. I'll give you the hint on the pronoun thing. When he comes back, when Jay tells him why he stole the food, he's afraid of being sent away, and boy, the lights go on for Dad. Oh, that's what's going on. He should have had a clue, actually. The sausage wasn't cut into. His son didn't hide it somewhere and just cut off little pieces and feed it. It was right out there for the family to eat. So that should have given the clue, but he finally realized why his son did it. And he says, you're right, Jay, there's a lot of people worse off than we are, but just because we don't have enough to eat, that doesn't give you the right to steal, because we don't steal. What's this little boy's major fear? Is he afraid of not having food and being hungry? He's afraid of being sent away. And the word we, me, you, as two separate individuals, we're in this together. Even the use of pronouns can send messages. The body language, and at the end of it where he says, and I promise you, we will never send you away. That is other awareness. He has discerned his son's greatest fear, his greatest need, his greatest desire, and he has ministered to it powerfully. We will never send you away. And this little boy who's just been living with this fear ever since he heard about his friend, that might have been days ago, he's been going to bed at night, fearful he'd be sent away the next day, living with his fear, putting on a face, and Dad finally ministers to that and he says, we will never send you away. The boy bursts into tears, throws himself into his dad's arms. Years ago, I had an employee who was really, really challenging. Really, really challenging. And I'd wrestled for a while with letting him go, and I prayed and prayed and prayed about it. And we were having a conversation one day, and he deserved it. I mean, we'd had warnings, we went through all sorts of things, and he deserved it. But just something in my spirit said, there's something deeper here. There's something deeper here. And I was just compelled in this one meeting, and I just said, Jerry, I will never fire you. I will never fire you. And he burst into tears. He said, I've been so afraid. I've been so afraid. He became what? He became one of my most devoted employees. That young man knew he'd been treated better than he deserved. Folks, as Christians, we've been treated better than we deserve. While we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Now, I'm not saying you overlook everything. I'm not saying you never discipline anybody. That's not it at all. But if I'm going to err initially, I want to err on the side of compassion and empathy and gentleness, giving people every reasonable chance. And when you do that, sometimes you can win a very loyal employee. If that doesn't work, then you can go to other steps. Anyway, there's all sorts of things here that just are packed into these situations. You've got employees back at your business right now today who are struggling in their marriages, in their parenting relationships with coworkers. Some of them have gotten some diagnoses on cancer. Some of them maybe learned that their mother is terminally ill. There's all sorts of emotions churning back at your office. And when you pick up on these signals and these cues and you minister to them in a way that it just puts it aside, the financial issue, the productivity issue, and you just deal with the relational issue. Huge impact. Okay, let's talk quickly about some peacemaking. We're very short on time here, but I want to introduce you to some peacemaking concepts. conflict provides specific opportunities to basically live out these relational wisdom concepts. When you've got a conflict in your family, your church, your business, you can live these things out. And 1 Corinthians 10:31 through 11:1 basically teaches us, Paul is writing to the Corinthian church loaded with conflict. And at the end of chapter 10, he basically summarizes everything. He says, listen, when you've got a conflict, keep three things in mind. You can glorify God. You can bring praise and honor to God. You can serve other people, and you grow to be like Christ. Every conflict is loaded with opportunities. So we don't have to be fearful of conflict as Christians. We can see it as an opportunity. Okay, God, this isn't something I would have wanted, brought in my life right now. I wish it wasn't here, but if you've allowed me to be here, you must have a purpose, and I'm going to believe you're going to use this for good. And my goal right now is to discern how I can use this in these three ways: to bring honor to you, to serve other people, to grow to be like Christ. We talk about the slippery slope in the online course on peacemaking. And again, this is one you can access for free, and help people identify, am I a person who likes to escape from conflict, or am I a person that really actually sort of enjoys conflict? I'm a frustrated lawyer, an advocate. And when you realize what your sort of knee-jerk reaction is, it's like your car. If you realize that your car tends to pull to the left when you hit the brakes, you learn to counteract that. You turn to counteract your tendencies. We want to try to stay up on top of the slippery slope, learning how to overlook minor offenses, how to reconcile personal offenses through confession and forgiveness, reconciliation, and how to work out material issues through negotiation. We should be excellent negotiators. There's some vivid examples in the Bible about negotiating in literally life and death situations. It's not money, it's life and death. And then sometimes we need to bring in mediation, arbitration, other things like that. So we talk about these responses. There's 4 basic principles that we teach in the peacemaking course. Is how do we glorify God? How do we get the log out of our eye, take responsibility for our contribution? How do we gently restore, help the other person see his or her responsibility? And then how do we actually go and be reconciled through forgiveness and through negotiation? I'm going to send an email out through Jeff after the seminar, and I'm going to give you an opportunity. If you would like a free copy of this book and also some of the study guides for the course, I'll give you the opportunity to just send that information to me, and I will send a packet of information to you out afterwards. You can go through this training with your family. We'll get you the material for free. One of the main things we want to talk about in our conflict resolution course is help people understand the brilliant insight in James 4:1 through 3. What causes fights and quarrels among you? Don't they come from your desires that battle within you? There's good desires we may have that can become consuming demands, and then we begin to judge people who are blocking what we want, and we find ways to punish them. So you can have an employee who desires a promotion to move up the ladder. Nothing inherently wrong with that. In fact, that's a motion or desire you'd want your employees to have, to excel and to advance. But if it becomes a demand and a coworker gets a promotion instead of that one, and they start to become bitter and angry, it's not fair, and I worked my tail off for this project, I can't believe my boss did this. Well, I'm going to stop putting out all this extra effort. It's obviously not paying off. And you have this spiral down from I desire, I demand, I judge, I punish. And it's only when we realize what's going on, that desire that has gotten excessive. A better response to that, I was talking to one man who exactly shared that, my coworker got the thing and my employee did, and he doesn't appreciate me, and I think I should just quit. I said, well, can I suggest an alternative thing to do? Your desire is a good desire. Why don't you go back to your supervisor and say, the other day when John got the promotion, to be honest, at first I was disappointed. But then I thought, well, John's a good worker, and he is productive, and everybody likes him, and I can see why you promoted him. What do I need to do? How do I need to improve my performance that someday you would consider me for a promotion as well? What supervisor isn't going to respond to an employee like that and say, I'd be happy to work with you, happy to work with you. You could save an employee and make him productive. Here's an example of how this progression, good desires, goes downhill into consuming demands.
Hey there.
Hey.
So I'm trying to decide what to do for vacation this year.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. What do you think we should do?
Good question. I was thinking this summer it would be a good idea if we went to visit my parents. We haven't seen them in a while.
No, the problem is that's not a break for me. Yeah, your parents are hard work, especially your mom. I want to relax. I want to go to the beach.
I mean, seriously, if we don't go see them, they can't come see us. They can't travel. It'll be another year before the kids see them.
I get 2 weeks off for vacation. That's it.
I'm aware.
I want to use it to relax. That's it. I want to take it easy. Work's been hard this year. I want to go to the beach. What's the problem?
Yeah, but we went to the beach last year because of the same reason.
Yeah, and we got to relax. We got to take it easy. That's what I'm talking about.
That's not what I meant. And you know that. Yes, the beach was fun. We all had a great time, but my father is not going to be around forever. And I don't want to feel like I missed this opportunity to spend time with him. I don't know why we always have to go through this. I wish you could just think about what I need or what the kids need, and it wasn't just always about you.
Really?
Really.
So I'm selfish. I'm working 60 hours a week, okay? To pay for all these vacations, all this stuff that we do, so you can make all the decisions? Really? Is that how it's gonna work? I'm just some big ATM. I'm gonna throw money all over the place so you can make all the decisions. Yeah, go ahead and call me selfish. That makes a lot of sense. I'm selfish.
I cannot take this anymore. Like taking care of the house and the kids, like that's not a real job. And I work part-time. I pull my share. If it's that important to you to have a break, you should take one. Go to the beach. Call your golf buddies. Do whatever you want. And I'll take the kids and we'll go see my dad.
I want to take a family vacation. Family vacation. I want to see my kids. I want to spend time with my kids. Care about this family as much as you care about your parents. That's what you need to be doing. We're right here. Us.
That is so unfair. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous.
You know what?
You're right.
You do whatever you want. I'm going to bed.
You do that. I'm going to watch a movie.
Please do not do that.
Good night. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night. Why does it always have to be this hard? Whatever.
Okay, what slippery slope responses did you see escaping and attacking? They're like the old pinball machine, boing, 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 boing. I mean, they're all over the place. What good desires grew into consuming demands? What was her desire? To go and see her father. His health is failing. He may not be. Was that a bad desire? No. What's his desire? Yeah, go to the beach with his kids. What wife doesn't want dad more involved with the kids? Good desire. But you see how they grew into demands? They began to judge each other, and they were really effective at punishing. That's one of the things that makes marriage such a battleground at times. We learn how to hurt the other person. We learn what to say and do to inflict the most pain. And they just spiral down, attacking and rejecting and punishing each other. I can assure you that there are employees in your company that are going through that kind of dynamic occasionally in their families. It's just a real life dynamic. So when you start wanting to restore a relationship after that kind of breakdown, I've mediated 600 divorces, over half of them reconciled, sometimes just a day before the final hearing, and it's because of applying these kinds of principles that come to bear. And one of the most important principles in peacemaking is Jesus' teaching in Matthew 7. First, get the log out of your own eye, then you'll see clearly enough to help your enemy get the other party get the speck out of his eye. It's an incredibly important process. And so getting the log out of my eye, taking responsibility, means making a credible confession. When people confess they're wrong by saying, well, if I did something wrong, I'm sorry, and that's how a lot of us want to confess, it's actually an offensive confession, because when people say, if I've done something wrong, I'm sorry, What the other person hears is this. Well, I don't even really know that I did something wrong, but I can see you think I did, and I know you're going to make my life miserable until you get some kind of satisfaction. So here's a token apology to get you off my back. And by the way, since I don't know if I did something wrong, I certainly don't know what I did wrong, and so I'll probably repeat it again tomorrow. But will you forgive me now? I mean, I've actually seen people get more angry when they hear an if confession. It's terrible. Most of the if confessions in our country come out of Washington, D.C., by the way. Our national leaders don't know how to admit they were wrong. I think our country would be better off if they could. So you want to address everyone involved. If it's just between you and a coworker, maybe you blow your temper at one worker, you talk privately to that worker. If someone blows up in a staff meeting with 12 other members of the team there, guess what? They need to come back and talk to the whole team. Now that can be very embarrassing, but can also be an incredibly powerful testimony as well. That kind of humility can really impress people. So you address everyone, you avoid if, but, and maybe. You admit specifically both what was going on inside of you and how the behavior came out. You acknowledge how you hurt or harmed the other person. You accept the consequences of that situation. You say, next time, with God's help, I'll do this differently, how you're going to alter your behavior, and you ask for forgiveness. This has been the key in hundreds of cases of restoring marriages, for example, that have been shattered by infidelity. It's when there's a heartfelt, sincere confession and commitment to restoration. But that can even work out in the workplace, just how people fall short. When people do forgive, then we need to, or they do confess, to move on to forgiveness. And forgiveness does not mean I'll drop it for now, but next time we have a fight, I'll throw it back in your face. That's called getting historical. What we want to do as Christians is we want to forgive the way God has forgiven us. And I use forgiveness as a way to give testimony to the gospel. When someone offends me, the other day, I was in a conflict with somebody, and he gave sort of a meager little confession about it. And I just said, Jeff, I want you to forgive you. And let me tell you what I mean by that. When I say I forgive you, I'm saying I promise I'm not going to dwell on this and think about it. I'm not going to keep replaying the videos. I'm not going to bring this up and use it against you in the future. I'm not going to talk to anyone about this. And I'm not going to let this stand between us or affect our personal relationship. And he just sort of looked at me with big eyes. He said, I've never heard of forgiveness like that. Where'd you get that? I love that question. He said, well, that's how God forgave me because of Christ. Can I tell you more about it? Forgiveness is one of the most powerful ways we can give testimony to our faith. Very powerful tools. And then finally, another of the key skills we have here is negotiation. How do we negotiate? We use the iceberg as an illustration here that when you forgive or when you're negotiating, what people tell you is their interest, that little thing on the surface, there may be something much deeper going on inside of them that they haven't revealed to you. If you don't understand what that deeper need is, you won't come up with good solutions. Sometimes people talk about money and illegal things when really it's just how you're treating them. They want respect. They want to know you value them. That might be a deeper issue. The key to this thing is understanding interest. What is the real interest this other person has? We talk about preparing for negotiation. There's a whole hour-long lesson just on this simple acrostic. But understanding interest is the key. Let's go back to that couple in the kitchen. Let's roll the tape backwards and start it over again. Let's give them another chance to work through that issue. See if you can pick up where their conversation goes in a very different direction and why it goes in a different direction. Oh, by the way, the one thing before we get there is what we call the golden result. When you live out those principles, confession, forgiveness, negotiation, what you will find 90% of the time, people will treat you the way you're treating them. If you're in a conflict and you're blaming the other person and vindicating yourself, that person will almost certainly reflect back to you the same behavior. He will vindicate himself and blame you, and you just go back and forth and back and forth. This is how attorneys make hundreds of thousands of dollars, is just aiding and abetting that process. When it reverses and one person said, here's how I contributed to it, 90% of the time the other person, the first thing they say is, well, hold on a minute, it's not all your fault. If I'd done this, it wouldn't have been here. It changes. I've seen this again and again, multi-million-dollar lawsuits, one person taking responsibility in an honest and thoughtful way. So you'll see that in this video, the golden result.
Hey there.
Hey.
So I'm trying to decide what to do for vacation this year.
Oh, yeah?
What do you think we should do?
Good question. I was actually thinking that this year we could go see my folks. We haven't seen them in a while. Well, what do you think?
I think we should go to the beach again this year. I want to relax. We had a good time last year. It's fun. If we go see your folks, your mom. The work's been hard this year. This has been just a tough year, and we go to your parents, I won't be able to relax. I want to go to the beach.
I know, okay? I know it's been a rough year, especially because of work, and I know you need to relax, and if my mom's around, you can't always do that, but you know how sick my dad is. I mean, I really thought this would be the perfect opportunity for our whole family to go and spend some quality time with him while we can.
I know how important it is to see your dad. And I know we don't have much more time with him. All right, well, I wonder if we should do that. Okay, yeah. Yeah, let's do that.
Well, I don't want you to not get the break that you need. I mean, the beach was great for our whole family last year. I just wish you got longer than 2 weeks.
What if you take the kids and you go see your folks? You
But
take
the
them for a
whole
week.
point-
No, hold on. And then the last couple days I come up, and then after that we can take the kids to the beach for a week. I mean, it's kind of choppy, but I think it works.
Yeah, I think it sounds great.
Okay, you get to spend quality time with your dad. We get to take the kids to the beach and relax, and I only have to see your mom for a couple of days. As long as you're good for being away a few weeks, then it's good for everybody.
Yes, I think this sounds like the perfect solution. This is really important to me. I appreciate it. Hey, I'm gonna head up to bed. You coming?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, a much happier ending in that situation. What was the turning point? What was the turning point? First part of it was very similar to the first thing. The man relented. Okay, let's unpack relented, because it's more than just giving in. It's more, okay, we'll do what you want. If I did that to my wife, she said, no, we'll go to the beach, you know. It's more than relenting. He shows empathy. Partway through, she's saying, well, I know you need rest, I know you need this, but my dad. The word but cancels everything precedes it. She's still pressing her agenda at that point. Her voice is intense, she's pushing in on him, she still wants what she wants. She's still caught on that spiral. He pauses, he thinks, he's thinking about it. I know it's important for you to see your dad. It's not just the words, it's a tone of voice. If you say words that are contrary to your tone of voice, people will believe your tone of voice more than your actual words. I know it's important if you see your dad, and I know we don't have much time with him. Let's do it. And bingo, in kicks the golden result. Yeah, but you need some rest, honey. You need to go to the beach. That's how it can work out when we put these things into practice. Okay, we're right at the end of our time, so I'm going to scream through a few slides here and just put up the last one. What I want you to understand is just, if you look at section E, I cannot ask you passionately enough to download those blogs in section E. Those are different concepts on how you as leaders in your company can apply these principles, not just personally, but in a leadership capacity, resolving conflict, showing empathy, getting to the heart of conflict, negotiating in ways. There's skills here we use in multi-million-dollar lawsuits to resolve things. And then in the other section, in section F, there's some very practical guidance on how you can bring these things, how you can do it personally with your family. You can go through this training with your family, and again, you can Shoot that QR code if you want to download the scholarship code to go through both the Relational Wisdom course and the Peacemaking course for free. And again, your spouse can do it with you, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, if you're not married, whoever is close in your life, and if you have older children, teenagers, they could go through it as well. And your whole family can benefit from that training. And the thing I'll just say at the end, even to bring this into your church, years ago, Francis Schaeffer, who many of you may be aware of, wonderful pillar of the church in our generation, he said that John 13:34 through 35 is the final apologetic. It's the final proof of the reality of our faith as Christians. What's it say? A new commandment I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, you also should love one another. All people will know you're my disciples by the love you have for one another. This behavior, this relational behavior that people see us living this way in our relationships and our families, what brought me to Christ just before I came back to law school was I had 3 couples, 1 in graduate school and 2 when I was an engineer working in medical research and development, that were just incredible marriages. And my office mates, I'd hear them talking to their wives, I was invited to their homes, and I just thought, I want a family like that someday. That relationship is so appealing to me. And our love for one another within our marriages, our friendships, in the workplace is one of the strongest testimonies we have. So there's a lot of very practical guidance in your outline on how you can put these things into practice. If you want some of the study guides for the material, you can download them from the course, but frankly, they're just not as nice as the nice printed study guide with a color cover. And we'll send you those for you and your family if you want to dig into this material. And if you want to get in touch with us afterwards, you can contact our organization. We can set up a consultation with you. If you would like training for your company, we train management teams all the time, all around the country. Any way that we can be of service to you, that's what we're here for. And again, I'll just go back to that opening illustration, that you would be able to, in a good conscience, know that you are successfully succeeding in your business. You've not only developed a successful company where people love working for you, but you take many of your employees with you into glory someday. Let me pray for you in closing. Father, we thank you that you have given us such rich, rich guidance through your word. We thank you for the power you've given to us through the power of your Holy Spirit to help us to do things we cannot do in our own strength, to do really supernatural things, to love enemies, to do good to those who hate us, bless those who curse us, pray for those who mistreat us, behave in ways that people just know that is not human. That is something above and beyond basic humanity. And Lord, that through our conduct and our example, that we would inspire others, encourage others, and eventually they come and say, how did you learn to do that? How do you get the strength to do that, to forgive him after what he did for you? Say, well, I'm glad you asked that question. Let me tell you about Jesus. Lord, we know that's the highest good we can do as a CEO, is to introduce our employees, our customers, our clients to the love of Christ. We pray this in his precious name. Amen. Thanks very much. I will take just a few questions if I can. Would that be all right? For
Sure.
just a minute? I'm sorry. Run up close. Any questions about the material, about our organization? Okay, well, I'm going to linger around during lunch, so if you want to grab me then, or if you want to contact our office, I'm available there.
Thank you, Ken. A couple of closing thoughts. We want you to leave resource-rich today, so I will be working with Ken and your Convene chairs to do a couple of things. Number one, we're aware that what you have in front of you is an analog version with lots of links. We will be sending you a digital version so you can access all of those links easily. Number two, do stop by and talk to our friends at Corporate Chaplains about how you can bring a trained professional who understands relational wisdom into your company to serve your employees. Be sure to visit our friends at the Crucible Project. This is a way for you to learn relational wisdom in 48 hours or less on one of their weekends, and we've got a few of our Convene members that are at the table, and you can get this free book, which is Unstuck. Last, I need to make a confession, and I need to ask for your forgiveness and flex my relational wisdom muscle here. Some of you have employees that were tuned into our YouTube live stream. One thing we did not know is when Ken showed the video of Pursuit of Happiness, YouTube's algorithm did not like that, so that it shut down the live stream. We were able to redirect it, but we lost about half of our live stream audience in the process. So just be aware of that. Some of those may be your employees. We will be following up with them afterwards to send an intact replay link that they can take advantage of. And again, our sincere apologies for that technical difficulty, and we ask for your forgiveness. Last, some of you we know have to go, so we wish you farewell and happy Thanksgiving. For those of you that are staying for lunch, you're going to make your way through the foyer. You're going to turn right, and you'll see lunch waiting for you there. And as we do that, let me close us here in prayer today. Lord, thank you for the sacred privilege of leading in the marketplace. Thank you for the men and women that you have entrusted to our care, for the businesses that you allow us to steward, and for the calling to influence others for your kingdom. Lord, we are grateful for your wisdom that guides us, your provision that sustains us, and your grace that carries us through every challenge. Help all of us today lead with humility, courage, compassion, and gratitude. May our decisions honor you, and may our leadership reflect you and point us, help our life point others toward you. May all the glory and honor go to you. It's in your good name we pray. Amen. Thank you very much, and happy Thanksgiving.